welcome to the Labyrinth. I'm your host, Pratham Padav. My guest today is Sekhar Sharma, the co-founder of Great Game India magazine. If you would like to support my podcast, buy my t-shirt, and please do me a favor, do subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon. And once you're done watching the podcast, leave your valuable comments below. And if you're listening to my podcast on audio platforms like Spotify or Apple Podcast, please hit the follow button. That will keep you updated. Sekhar, welcome back on the Labyrinth.
Yeah. Hi, Pradham. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm as always. So how are you? How are things on your side?
Yeah, it's everything good. Only the political situations that is impacting the lives of our daily life. So these vaccine certificates and all, like, so when we, the previous talk when we had that, this much of pressure was not there.
Yeah.
So the mandates and everything.
How is it in your state, in Andhra Pradesh?
It's Andhra Pradesh is very, it's not cosmopolitan. There is no cosmopolitan city over here. It's mostly towns and villages, so there is no that much impact. But if you go to Hyderabad, Telangana, then you had these mandates kind of a thing. Bangalore.
Yeah. Same here. Even here in malls and theaters, there it was very strict. Okay, but now slowly they are slowly they're taking it back because people don't care. And people have moved on to other things also. And even in the news channel, if you've seen, they said 2 weeks to flatten the curve. They brought masks, COVID didn't stop. They brought sanitizer, COVID didn't stop. They said 2 weeks to flatten the curve, COVID didn't stop. Finally, what stopped COVID? Russia-Ukraine war. Now, no, everybody's forgotten about COVID.
Yeah. And also the Omicron they are talking about. Even Bill Gates himself has said that sadly, Omicron has worked better than vaccine. I mean, I don't know what he means, but he said that vaccines are not working at all. So then why they give vaccines first of all? That's the reason that we need to find out what's behind the vaccine and these mandates and everything.
Yeah, vaccine mandates are useless. I have a small group of people here called Wake Up Mangalore. We went to the commissioner, we went to the additional DC here in Mangalore, and we asked him like, what is the scientific reason for vaccine mandates? Because even people who have taken the vaccine can spread COVID, and if you're young and healthy, you don't really need the vaccine. So what is the point? And they can't give a proper answer at all. They just say we are getting orders from above, we have targets, so we have to do this.
Yeah, it's a hierarchical, the command structure that we spoke about last time. So the administration, the below, the town level and village level, they just need to follow what the orders coming from the secretariat. So the chief secretariat is the one who influence everything and the CM of the state. So it's their decision that has to come. Even they get decision from the prime minister and WHO and all those things. So it's like even the prime minister gets order from WHO, and the order comes from, where it comes from. So these kind of a thing, order structure, it's like a command, and you need to play the button and you need to act like that.
So I have to go in a political angle now. Is Narendra Modi a strong prime minister as he's portrayed, or is he a globalist puppet?
We can't define a prime minister like that because so any of the prime minister, for example, from India especially, the environment he grown up or the conditions he was grown up, that we need to look into what kind of a situation he was. Like for example, the people from Andhra, if anyone become a PM, so he acts very differently. So when a PM comes from Tamil Nadu, he acts very differently. So we need to understand the Gujarati model of what he's done before and how in general Gujaratis play with it. So any PM, for example, any PM from 1950s. So if they go against the global order, if they do anything against what it is, so they get, the replies from them is very harsh. Like, for example, Lal Bahadur Shastri, he got assassinated. So Indira Gandhi, he got assassinated. She got assassinated, and Rajiv Gandhi. So and many strong leaders who are about to go into the PM chair, like Sanjay Gandhi, Sachin Pilot. Like I mean, these kind of people are got assassinated. But after 1990, if you observe, after we went into the liberalization and globalization, we opened our economy. Then this kind of a pressure got decreased on the PM. So then they're establishing the PM candidate who listens to them, who is soft
Yeah.
and who can adjust to their mentality. So it's like-minded people. So they want, like I mean, in the place, so that everyone, I mean, they listen to whatever the command structure they give. Like I mean, anything. So, for example, during the but the ministers and all, some of the ministers and all are very good minister. For example, health minister. I don't know his name, but in 2010, when the swine flu came, so he said that some Tiwari. So he said that he was a health minister at that time. So he said WHO is not a god to, and we, I mean, the swine flu vaccines are almost are not working. The swine flu itself is a fake pandemic they created. It's a press meet. So the minister himself went against WHO. So after 10 years, they know that these kind of a ministers are in the place. So once they kept the PM candidates as who listen to them and who is very strong, now the interior ministers and the secretaries, they need to work together how to compromise them. So they got 10 years. I mean, in every state, in every country, this kind of a problem they arise during the swine flu pandemic. They know that this pandemic is not going to work.
Yes.
So they took 10 years of time to implement this kind of a situation. So they kept the place, I mean, the positions, chief secretariats and ministries who listen to them so that they can smoothly implement their command structure.
In that case, what is the point of voting in elections? Because it doesn't matter which party wins if they're always listening to some invisible boss. Why participate in democracy?
So that's the point of the whole game now. So after 1950s, uh, British has make sure that they need to get in control with the colonies they have ruled. So and so to keep them in control, they need to put their people in the place. So they created this kind of a sophisticated democratic system. So which I mean helped them to rule from work from home. It's kind of a like a work from home kind of a thing. So it's like a Zoom session for them to get orders and do anything with them to the leaders. Not only in India, so everywhere they did the same thing. So for example, Sri Lanka, Nepal, even the small countries like even the France was I mean one once they are even now the current situation in any prime minister, so they still follow the global order. So what British has set up to them, and even the US, for example, and US is also facing the same thing from World War Two. Before World War One, US was strong against the British. After World War One, they fought with the British in World War Two, and now so it's the same situation. Like I mean, now even the Biden administration is doing the same thing. So whatever the European, I mean, hegemony was there, like they are just listening to them.
Yeah.
So for that, we need to read the history, like from Monroe Doctrine and I mean Mackinder and Rat. These kind of a theories are there. Like I mean, there are so many Britishers and Americans. They said that I mean, what kind of a British rule was there at that time, and how they are still implementing the same thing.
But as an individual or as a group of people, should we stop focusing so much on Indian politics, this left versus right, BJP versus Congress, and should we stop worrying about elections itself? Because, like you said, right, if politicians are controlled by some invisible landlords in Europe, why
Yeah.
should we as citizens even bother voting? Because anyways, it's of no use.
Yeah. So, but this kind of a democracy needs to be there in the place to make the people, but it depends upon the leader, how can he influence the policies, and also how, for example, there are many people in India, like, I mean, 1.3 billion population. So they need that some kind of a representation in the house. So, but the kind of a democracy we are in, it's not not everyone are getting represented in the parliament or in assembly. So it's like we need a democracy which represent every section of the people, every community of the people. So for that one, we need, like, for example, we had the king system before. So, but when we see that some of the king structure, they are beautifully managed. For example, Vijayanagara Empire. If you see the political structure of it, it was representing every section of the people in the house. They used to discuss every problem in the house. The ministries and every the ministries of from every community, they used to stand against the king and the king court discussions. You need to see. So those discussions are very brilliant and very logical. So we need that kind of a democracy where every section of the people can be represented in the house. Now only few people who are influenced, who are more with the money, who are more power to influence the policies, like corporates. So these kind of a people are representing our parliament. I mean, those ministers, uh, they are representing them, not the common people.
Okay.
So we need proportionality democracy. It's a proportional democracy system we need to. Now we are only the monocratic democratic system which British has brought into the place after World War II. So that's the system we are now we are going through. We need proportional democracy. Proportional democracy means every section of the people get, I mean, represented in the house, either in parliament or in the assembly. For example, we have MLAs, member of legislative assemblies, so where they will represent the people, their own local people assembly. I mean, certain kind of, like, I mean, 2 lakhs 3 lakhs kind of a population populated country. Every town's assembly has divided into 2 3 lakhs up to, so these 3 lakhs people are represented in assembly. So we have divided the seats according to the population. And when it comes to parliament, now the I mean, Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha is there. So these MPs are there from everywhere. So these MPs, they will represent the local people at the national level. So these are some MLAs, they represent the people at the state level. So now what happening is, like, we have only one parliament. So where all these MPs are discussing in one parliament, sitting about, I mean, discussing about 1.3 billion population problems. We have only 600 people. So
Yes.
if you see that like a corporate structure, it doesn't make sense. For in if you see any corporate structure, for every 1,000 or 100, for every 100 members, you have a manager, and you have subdivisional managers to look into what exactly going on. You have HR system, human resource system. So you have everything at the place. I mean, when you see the court, but to 1.3 billion population, you have, I mean, 600 MPs and the MLAs, which are, I mean, representing the state. We have few people who represent, who concerned about, and in this one also, they represent most of the community where they come from. For example, Reddy community in Andhra Pradesh, they represent more in assembly, like, I mean, Kamma community, and these kind of a dominated caste, so they represent more about their problems. And apart from that, now the corporate policies that we are talking about, the COVID structures and health infrastructure and the health budget, these are getting influenced by the corporate structure. These ministries work for these kind of a people. So where in turn the policies will help the hospitals and pharma, big pharma, where they come from.
Okay. Nowadays, we see our Prime Minister Modi using this word very often, and that word is New World Order.
Yeah.
After COVID is over, there will be a new world order, and that will benefit India a lot. I partially believe what he's saying. There will be a new world order, whether we like it or not, post COVID. The way he's structuring it is that in this new world order, instead of Europe or US leading the world, it will be more of India or Asia leading the world. How do you think this new world order will be structured?
Uh, Basically, in India, we don't have that much knowledge on what is new world order. See, it's just a political jargon that is coming flowing in every prime minister when he goes to Davos and when he goes meet some other prime minister in Europe or America. They talk about new world order. They are now openly talking about new world order. But he's just making using those words. I mean, it's the jargon is flowing into the political, environment. That's all. But in the public sense, in the real sense, the what is new world order? It's the order that was set by the British after World War II. The order which they want to be in control, where the past previous colonies which they control has to listen to them and play according to the books they have written. So these kind of things are not like, I mean, we don't have that much of knowledge in the social studies. We don't have that much knowledge on the history. Just using the terminology doesn't make sense. So now there is another term that is coming on look east.
What?
So what is look east?
Look east. Okay.
Yeah, look east. So now the West and every country they are talking about look east policy. So it's a normal tendency that is coming in for last 3 years from 2015 onwards. I think look east policy and also after China became more powerful and all. So and India is also becoming more, industrialized and everything. Now they are coming into the playbook like called like look east policy and these kind of a thing. So these are the just political jargons that which in India we don't understand. In general sense, the populace of India can't understand the terminologies of what is New World Order, what is Lookist policy. So because we don't read history, even if we read history, we only read about Pakistan, Nepal, Sri Lanka. What are the borders that which are set up by the what are the countries which are set up by the British. So we our knowledge as a geopolitical knowledge stuck at the borders of Pakistan uh, and Sri Lanka, Nepal. Now because China is becoming for the last 10 years is becoming more military wise and strong. So that's now we are telling that China is our. So before that it's only the Pakistan, Kashmir problem. So our knowledge was stuck at the borders. We don't know what exactly Europeans are thinking.
How are how are we different from China? What I'm trying to say is, in the 1970s, China was as poor as India. It had the same economic problems as India, but China managed to get their act together, and today they're almost a developed country. If you go to the cities in the east of China, it's like the first world. It's like you're in Singapore or in Canada. But India is still a third world country, more or less. There's still a lot of pollution, high unemployment, economy is very vulnerable. How did they manage to get their act together but not us?
Because they went indigenous. So they don't talk, converse, or do anything in English. They just do everything in China, their language. They want their products to be, represented at the global trade. So they funded more into the indigenous technology. Even they copy and all those. They spent more money on re-engineering and these kind of stuff. After Deng came in, so after he revived the entire economy of China. So he poured money into the technology and everything. So that's the part I'm talking about. Like, I mean, it's the leader who shaped the policies. It's the motivation of the leader who can change the, shape of the country. And so that's where that, the motivation comes in. So the universities of China and the knowledge that is coming in is grilled towards the indigenous technology, grilled towards what best for China. It's not what best for West or something. Now, if you see whatever the institutions that you are learning in, wherever you go, either it is premier institutions or like IITs, IIMs, and all. So they drilled towards the development of the corporates. At the end of the day, you need to go and work for some Western company. And how you can improve, how your ideas are implemented to improve that company. In turn, these companies are, making policies. For example, Ernst and Young is one of the big four companies of management. So every IM guy or anyone who the MBA who done their MBA wants to get a place in this kind of a company. So so what they work for, they whatever they learned from their childhood to, whatever the hard work they came to the IIM's premium. So it's definitely not easy to crack, go to IITs or IIMs. So they need to put much of the brains into it. But at the end of the day, where they are working. So, and the companies that where they are working, for whom they are working, which country they are working in, how these companies are influencing our political policies. So that kind of a, political scenario, we are not understanding. We are just working for them for the salary. So there is a inbuilt motivation that was missing in the institutions itself, from the schooling itself. So why they have to develop India? So in the school and all, like we say that we need to be nationalist. We have to say we need to do slogan. We have to sing a song of India culture and everything. We need to tell Jai Hind and everything. So at the end of the day, where you are working, where is your motivation of that kind of a thing? So we, as a IT company, we say that India is a IT hub, and still now we don't even have our own OS, operating system. Till now we don't have our own mobile system, computer that we are talking in, the earphones that we are using, the mobile phones we are using, and the software in it. Even the keypad in the phone itself is in English.
Yeah.
So where is the indigenous technology? So where you are working from? So everything from from up to 2000, everything was influenced by the Microsoft. So and the Microsoft guy suddenly becoming the health
Health minister of
advisor.
the world. Yeah, it's very difficult to overcome this. What are your thoughts on the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war?
So Russia-Ukraine war, we need to understand. So everyone, in the news channel and everyone, talking about Russia is invading. Someone is taking sides and someone is not taking sides. So neutral analysis and also, but what they are mostly, and what I'm listening is like this is a war that is suddenly came and everything. But this is not a sudden war.
Yeah.
This is actually planned. This is started 2000 years back, technically.
Yeah.
So it started from the where the Portuguese has invaded to India, and the Spanish invaded Americans. So I'm the American, Native Americans, basically. So so that was a trade when the Islam became very more powerful, Ottoman Empire and Constantinople. So when these empires became more powerful, so they had struck the trade route, which is the Silk Route. We call it as Silk Route. So it's a main nerve of the trade from Asia to Europe. So because the European countries don't have that many goods at that time, even now, even the atmospheric environmental conditions, the Asia is more powerful in the trade, and we produce more spices, gold, diamond, everything, because the environment is like that. We have the balance of environment, and the support comes from the weather and conditions and seasons is very different here, unique in the Asia when compared to Europe, because there are cold countries and the seasons are very unpredictable. So mainly most of the goods goes from Asia to Europe. So that was blocked by the Islamic countries at that time. And these Islamic kings, sultanates and all, they used to trade the goods that come from Asia to Europe in much higher taxes. So in that way, the economical collapse of the European system has increased a lot. So then the two Christian nations at that time, like I mean, there is already a inbuilt Islam versus Christian fight that was going on, and in between the trade also came, and the trade has dominated the entire thing. So, and now they want to find a way to get the trade back. So that time, that Spanish and Portuguese are the two biggest countries at that time in the Europe. So they took the expedition to find a sea route to India. So then you know that Columbus went to America.
US.
Then he thought that, so they have a don't have a, I mean, not definite idea what India is. They don't have any clear idea. So what India and what is its culture and all. So when the Columbus landed to America, he thought that the resemblance between the thought of culture and everything in same in America also. Then he thought that it's India itself. Then afterwards he realized it's not India, it's actually some other continent he landed.
Okay.
And then Vasco da Gama came to here. He landed in Goa. So then the actual expedition and the looting of the spices and the game that started over here. Then they dominated the Indian kings and they took over the entire trade of India and you know all the East India Company, Dutch company and everything they have. So now in this the whole game, uh, so there is a division between the France, Germany, and Russia. So the France, Germany, and Russia, I mean, these are the countries which are very different from the British. I mean, they have the internal, even the Christianity itself has internal divisions. For example, Russia is Eastern Orthodox, and the West that you are seeing is Western Orthodox. So these, I mean, they have a fight. They have internal conflict. It's called Great Schism. So this schism has brought the difference between these two continents, basically Russia and the Western Church. So these Western Church always goes against the Eastern Orthodox. That's why even the Christmas they celebrate, it's very different. The Russia celebrates the Christmas on different dates, and the Italy and the Western Catholics they celebrate the Christian Christmas at different dates. So this is a conflict that is going on for years. So then they establish East India Company. So World War One and World War Two is basically to destroy the Islamic nations, which has blocked the Silk Route. So after World War One, the Ottoman Empire was collapsed.
Even the Russian Empire also.
Yeah, even Soviet Union was there at the time, but it's there. But the main goal is to open the route between the Europe to India, starting point of Asia. So they need to open the gates. So World War One is the main cause for that. So to open these gates only, get the routes and everything to clear the everything. They did World War One and World War Two. And after World War Two, they created a buffer state. They fear that Russia and India, China, if they unite together, it will be a biggest threat to the Western hegemony. So they created a buffer states in between these countries. That's called Great Game.
Okay.
So Great Game One started through even before Napoleon. Napoleon is the first king who exactly has a sense what exactly the British. If he has to France, if he has to defeat England, first it has to go and hit the India, British India, because the resources, I mean the money, economical and human power that is coming to the British is from India, because India is giving everything to the British. Because of India, only British has spread its tentacles to all over the world. It can control. It has controlled the entire. I mean, colonies. It has managed the entire colonies for that many years because of India. Because all the resources, human power, human knowledge, even the knowledge that is coming from the Indian Indians that is going into their workforce. So Napoleon has sensed it. That's why he came in contact with Tipu Sultan. He sent a spy to contact with Tipu Sultan, and from there, because he wants to remove, British from India.
Okay.
So that's how they decided.
And how is this all connected to the current crisis in Ukraine?
It's the same thing. Like, I mean, after, as I said, like, after British 1950, it created so many buffer states between Russia, India, and China. So basically, Russia is a deadlock continent.
Okay.
They don't have any sea route. All that thing they have to do is through Arctic. So when the enemies surround them, so they have to find a way to what they can do. So the NATO forces are in front of their doors. So now they have to do something to prevent what prevent what it is coming to their country. And for example, the Pakistan is created because of this one only.
Okay.
Pakistan is created to one purpose is to divide and rule between Hindus and Muslims, and the other purpose is to block the land route from India to Russia. Even Bose knows it. Subhash Chandra Bose know this thing, know the strategy of what British is going to do. There is a book called Unmaking of Pakistan. It's written by the German spy, German intelligence guy. So he wrote that book. He met Subhash Chandra Bose, and he told everything to. They discussed. So it's basically their discussions that went into. It's the book that they wrote after Subhash Chandra Bose died. So in that one, he clearly mentioned. The creation of Pakistan is to block the route from Russia to India, because
Now,
it goes if, for example, if Pakistan is not there, so in the map, so our borders would have touched up to Iran, and in the north, our borders would have touched up to Soviet Union. Post Soviet Union at that time, Soviet Union. So it's basically a Russia, Tajikistan, and this kind of thing. So the entire Pakistan would have been. It's a more fertile land, more rivers are there, and the entire the land of the Pakistan would have been more industrially grown and educationally more matured. So after the partition, what it is now,
yeah.
it is becoming the breeding ground for terrorists, because the economical condition is worse. All the Afghanistan and everything, their economical condition is worse than anything, because Afghanistan war is also because of that one. Because so Russia wants to come to Afghanistan and invade Afghanistan, because to close down what has British done. They want to undo what British has created. But the Cold War started from there,
Mm.
and you know that how the America went into Afghanistan and they created the Mujahideen. So they funded all the tribals who are very poor, who are being devastated because of World War II.
Yeah.
They
To fight.
use the same tribe to fight against Russia.
Mm. Yeah.
So
And
it's already started from World War II. Once we study the World War II, we can know what exactly going on now in Ukraine.
okay. Now, if India and China put away their differences, and we decide to build an alliance between Russia, China, and India, will that have a lot of benefits for us, and will that tip the center of power from west to east?
Exactly. That's the main fear of British, right? Even now, everyone think that the British East India Company went and the British colonialism has went down, and now everything is cool and every country is independent. No, it's not that every country is independent. Still the colonial rule is continuing. The capitalism, the crony capitalism that they have built, they have brought, the consumerism they have brought, is still existing. The fundamentals of the British colonialism, it's still in every country. The robbery, the gambling. The economy runs on liquor and gambling. For example, stock market is itself is a gambling. It's like a kind of a British what introduced into the economy. The fundamentals of economics that we are continuing is itself built by the British. So now where we are, independent. Even so, that's what they are preventing it. To prevent that one, they need a conflict between India, China, and Russia. So India, Russia, we don't have the close borders and everything, but they don't need to worry about it. The main thing is China. So that's why they need a conflict from the China side and from India side. So even in China, they made puppets. Like Mao is a puppet of British. He continuously listened to them. So that's why Mao went against America.
Okay.
So it's a game that British plays. That China has to be, enemy to the America, and America has to be enemy to the China, so they can keep check the America also. Even they don't need USA to be independent.
Okay. Uh, how do you think India should react to this war? India and China has abstained from recently voting in the UN Security Council meeting. They were among the three countries to say we don't want to take any sides. But
Yeah,
all the other countries, the Western countries, even the African countries said we have to condemn Russia. Should India take a side or should we abstain from the vote?
yeah. What India did is good. If India would have done more supported in the more strong way, it would have been good. I mean, China and India. This is a situation where they can support Russia at this time because it's a neighboring country. Say they would have openly supported Russia, not being in abstained or something. They would openly told that we are supporting Russia and whatever it is NATO because the NATO itself is sitting at the doorsteps of the Russia. See, Ukraine is a country which is neutral at that position. Now suddenly they want to join NATO. So what is the purpose of it? See, the conflict that doesn't feel. Suddenly, it will actually happen. To the years. So now the Ukraine joins NATO, and all the NATO armed forces sit on the doorstep of Russia. In next 5 years, they will go against Russia to the war. Anybody can call the war, right? Anybody can do the things. So now the Russia realized it, and they want to prevent that one to happen. So it's their national interest that is coming into the scene. So Russian forces are not there in America. Russian forces are not there in Germany or France or anywhere, or even in the British. You are sending the NATO force to the border states of Russia.
Yeah.
Just a word like not just a word from Ukraine. So we'll be neutralized. We'll be neutral state. So we don't support anyone. Just a policy statement from the Prime Minister of Ukraine would have prevented all these things. Still, they went with the war. Still, they want to take sides. They know the war is coming. Everyone knows that once they decide they're joining the NATO, Russia will go and come and hit it. But still, they went. So they need war to happen.
Yeah, I
So why
agree.
they want war to happen in next 1 year, we'll get to know.
Huh. I know it's people only look at this from one side, especially the media. They say Russia invaded Ukraine, but no one says the West actually provoked Russia. Ukraine, which was supposed to be like a neutral country, which was more pro-Russia historically, all of a sudden, if it becomes pro-West, obviously Russia will feel threatened.
Yeah, basically. So that's where the religious points comes here. Because they can't mingle with the racism is a main concept because racism still breeds in Europe and America. as Indians, we don't know what exactly happened in Europe and all because we don't read their politics. So if you really travel in Europe, you can see that how the racism is in France, everywhere. So even for to get to that point, Russians are white and there is no racism point. But here, Russians are different from the Europe. The most the Europe because these are the Western Catholics and these are the Eastern Orthodox. They have the religious difference, and there is also ethnic difference. So Rus and Celts and Norwegians and British Isles, and they have ethnic differences, and these differences are making them to fight together for years.
Yeah. And it's
So they are
also
strongly religious. They are very strongly religious.
okay.
We don't look into them as a religious point of view, but they are very strong religious.
Okay. And what I see to be very hypocritical in the media is the US can invade Afghanistan, they can invade Iran, they can Iraq, they can bomb Yemen, they can bomb Afghanistan, they can drone Pakistan, and everybody is silent. It's business as usual. But if Russia invades a country at its own neighborhood, or if China does some aggression in Hong Kong, that's a bad thing. This is completely hypocritical from the West, and now everybody is slowly realizing this.
Yeah, yeah, that's how they run the World War II and Cold War. The entire narrative was supporting the American and Western point of view. You don't see any other point of view. So that's how they control the narrative. Because the World War II won by the British and those forces, France and everything. So they control the narrative. They control the media. They rub their point of view on in our brains. So there are many memes that I'm seeing that Russians are crying and Russian Prime Minister became a hero. He's not doing anything, and he's coming in front of the people and fighting in real grounds, unlike other prime ministers of the country and all those things. I mean, first of all, he is the one who started this war instead of taking a neutral stand. Ukraine, they know they're a small country. They don't have that much military power, so they don't have anything unless they NATO come and support them. Unless American forces come and support them, they can't do anything. So, but still he knows he went to the war. He is the one who brought all these things with the purpose. What is that purpose? We'll get to know in 6 months.
Does this mean COVID is over? Because now all of a sudden everybody forgot about COVID, and mandates and everything is slowly going away, and it's coincidental with the war. All from the past 2 years, pharma company was doing very well. Now military industrial complex companies, defense companies will do very well. It's so strange the way things have moved all of a sudden. Where do you think we are with COVID right now?
So COVID is basically when they want, it will come. When they don't want, it will not come. So the people need to realize that. So it's a game. The narrative that is there that was built with the purpose. What is that purpose? To make money. The farmer has to make money, and in turn, the farmer has to fund the military industrial complex. So in turn, they got money. Now the military has the money. So what military, when it get money, what it has to do? It has to go to the war. So that's what they are doing.
It's one big game, man. And what is your opinion on the Canadian truckers' protest, which recently ended, and Prime Minister Trudeau invoking the Emergencies Act?
It's the same. The history is repeating what his father did. So basically, if they want to go in between, COVID mandates and everything, so they can't survive for more. I mean, they want to influence everything, but at point of a time, people will fight back. So people fought back in the Canada. But I mean, unfortunately, in India, that much that truck the freedom convoy and these kind of a protest in Europe or everywhere. I mean, everywhere the mandate protest has happened. I mean, uh, protest against the mandates and everything, vaccination and all. But in India, that was not been that much exposed. Our media has not shown anything about it, what really going on. So that's very. I mean, that's why our knowledge system is also very weak. We believe everything what West is telling. Even in the Ukraine, so many people are taking why the Ukraine. We don't need war. We don't need anything. The war is not the answer. Putin is a very evil person and everything. So it's not like that. The war happens because it's a purpose. I mean, nobody don't. I mean, even the Putin, he don't want any war. Like I mean, any Russia, India, any country, they don't want any war. But unless it threatens their national interest.
Yeah.
So that's how the war comes. You called for the war.
Yeah. In my podcast previously, I had some controversial guests. I had one guy called Jayant Bandari. He's from Canada. He's an Indian who lives in Canada. Now he gives seminars and he talks a lot about how India benefited from colonization. He's pro colonization, and in many ways I actually sympathize with him. What he's saying is when he was in India, he was a victim of Indian corruption, Indian bureaucracy, and he says that in India has become more corrupt after independence, and bureaucrats have become worse. So his argument is that you look at East Asia, you look at South Korea, because he's been to hundreds of countries. He's an investor. He's gone to South Korea. He's gone to Japan. He says Japan was bombed and still they rebuilt the country, but we are still acting like we are victims of British colonization. Why can't we become a strong country? And he criticizes Indian culture also. It's like it's because we Indians believe in too many superstitions. That's why we are backward. That's why we cannot be like Eastern Asia. What do you think about this kind of argument?
Yeah, it's the same. I mean, every, I mean, citizen of their own country criticize his own country and policies. For example, if you go to Africa, they still the same. They feel the same thing. So Africa is still not becoming super because Africa is a country where they have more resources, more diamonds, more oil, and everything. They can become the superpower than China and India or in, US or like I mean Western countries because all the resources go from Africa and Asia. So so that's the curse, you know. Like I mean, when you have so much of resources and talent, you're doomed to suppressed. You're doomed to get corrupted because other party has to get benefit. So from 1940, the colonization. I mean, we think that colonization has stopped. So that's the idea that we thought that India became independent and they can become like a Japan or Germany or France or anything. But in the I mean in the fundamentally we are not got any freedom. Our prime minister got assassinated and no one talks about it. Lal Bahadur Shastri and Indira Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi and these kind of people who are prominent leaders and they got assassinated and no one got investigated. Who did it? Even now we don't know. So that kind of a situation we are in. So these are the people who fought against the same British hegemony. Lal Bahadur Shastri, he wants to close down the borders I mean, with Lahore, he want to invade, he want to occupy POK and open the routes with Russia. Then he got assassinated. Indira Gandhi, she nationalized the entire oil companies, banking system, and she liberalized the Bangladesh. And then again, she wants to go to war with Pakistan. And these people made stuck her at the Amritsar conflict. They created the Amritsar conflict to divert her attention to that kind of stuff, the Blue Star operation and everything. So basically, they have demoralized the entire confidence of Indira Gandhi. Also, that we need to read our own history. We don't in the history in the point of not independence. We need to think that we need to understand that we're still in the control of British colonization. The exact same thing is going on. So the politicians there that you are seeing is they're influenced by the Western hegemony. They are running their policies which advantages them, what they want them. Like for example, all the resources that are mining. We don't have any mining company. All the mining companies are controlled by the DBs. Diamond mining. Diamond mining is controlled by the DBs company, which is again the British company. And our fertilizers are controlled by the Monsanto, which is again the British and American, Anglo-American company. Our software system is controlled by the Anglo-American companies. Our communication system is controlled by the Anglo-American companies. So where you got independence, our cotton industry is getting textile industry is dominated by the Anglo-American companies. So where you got independence? I mean, in what sense? Just in the constitutions or just in the paper? You want to write as independent country. You want your passport, your own national ID, then you feel like you are getting independent. So that is not the real independence. So when you print your own money, is that the own independence? It's not that. Like I mean, your money is being suppressed. Your inflation is being controlled by the those companies.
In your mind, what is real independence? How would an actual independent India look like?
So India is a vast country culturally and population wise and everything. So we have different pools of knowledge. Each state, even our state borders have been drawn by those Britishers. At that point of a time, the Kerala was being drawn by the Britishers, and this kind of a thing was like I mean happening because to divide and rule. We have plenty of knowledge systems in India where they can now the knowledge system of India is I mean working for the Western countries. So all the companies where you are looking at those are the managers, for example, Google and Microsoft and everything is I mean run by the Indians. Most of the technical and logical part of it. So instead of working for them, we need to build our own systems. We need to build our own technology. We need to build our own textile industries. Industrially, we need to get indigenous. We have a talent, but we don't have political will. Political will has to get into the place. The politicians needs to get into the mode of creating our own product, creating our own and representing our own talent at the global level. So then we can get what we want. Because Japan is a country which I mean hit by the nuclear attack and everything. But then again, they came because they have fundamentally they didn't forgot their culture. So they do their own thing in their own language. Japanese, they don't talk any other language. They, I mean, they program the software in their own language, like Chinese, even the Germans, even the French, Russians. These are all they don't talk other language. They do whatever the thing in their own language only. Because natively, if you speak, you can understand the knowledge systems. You will not get corrupted because the narrative which we are now seeing, it's most of it in English, and the narrative that coming from, for example, taking sides and one-sided of information is coming basically flowing in English. So the what Britishers are telling it, like we are listening. What Americans are telling it, like we are listening because we are only creating one point of a view, and because of the language, the thing. So once we have, I mean, uprooted our knowledge systems and language and everything, we can become indigenous country.
Okay.
So only thing that lagging is political will.
And finally, how can we awaken more people and talk to them about the COVID, scam, scamdemic, globalist agenda, and the whole great game?
So basically, they have to be less apologetic about the nation. They don't need to, like, I mean, that guy that you are telling it, like, I mean, we are in the corrupted nation, we don't have anything to do. We cannot become like Japan, we cannot become like Germany. Why? Even after independence, first we need to believe, first we need to understand we are not independent.
Even this guy who I was talking about, even he says we have not got independent at all. We have got the so-called independence.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's all.
mm,
So so you suffer a lot in this environment. There is no way, like, whomever wants to get the corruption, it's inbuilt. The suffering is inbuilt, the intolerance will be inbuilt, because the fundamentally it is drawn by the colonial country. We are being ruled by the British 250 years, and suddenly after 1950 England became our friendly country and Pakistan became our enemy. You need to understand that, man, how much, I mean, mind game that we are into, how much psychological warfare you are in. Suddenly the Pakistan army, which are now you are seeing after 1950, is our own army, which is being divided into two. They came from World War II. They fought for British in World War II. They came back to country and they have been divided into, in terms of Pakistan and even the army don't have any say in it. Suddenly the armed forces were shocked, and that army and that country became super enemy. And British England became the super friendly country for us. For everything we run to them. Even for the Kashmir problem, we run to them. We need England advice what we have to do with the Kashmir, and they have to tell what it is. And we need a speeches from them about the peace and equality and democracy and everything. I mean, it's only. I mean, it's very. I mean, so that's the part. Like, I mean, we need to understand. I mean, understand the fundamentals of the British. The fundamentals of the British is gambling, money theft, and submissive administrative policies, corrupt administrative policies. They want to monitor super surveillance, everything. So then now we are in the same state. Now the liquor and money runs the elections. Gambling runs our economy. And do you think that in this environment you can become more indigenous and more talented? You have to run away from the country to show your talent. Because the environment itself is like the fundamentals itself is like that. So you are born, you are conditioned in this environment from the childhood onwards. You need to break this system first of all. You need to break the opinions. You need to get the knowledge in the proper place. Where exactly it is going on? Who is our real enemy? There is an Art of War book written by Sun Tzu. He's a Chinese strategist. Sun Tzu. He says that you need to know who is your enemy. Then only you can do the battles. Otherwise, you will stumble on the battleground. Or you don't even know who is your enemy. Then you are fighting in the air. You are waving your sword in the air. That's all. The system itself, it will not meant to. Uh, I mean, growth. I mean, for the talented people, it's only to submissive kind of a system. You need to submit to the administration and listen to the administration
I
and
guess
listen to what they want.
I guess we need a lot of changes then. We don't even know who we are fighting against. And
Yeah,
most of the time we're fighting amongst ourselves.
yeah. Japan, for example, it's. Uh, I mean, after World War II, it has written its own constitution. France, Germany, they wrote their own constitutions and laws according to their own needs. We are the one copied our constitutions from different countries and jumbo mumbo of every country. The IPC, the police system that we are seeing, the IB, Intelligence Bureau, and everything is set up by the British to us. We didn't change anything. Indian Penal Code, we just made Indian, that's all. We wrote as Indian, that's all. It's just a British penal code. Our law system is run by the same, uh, in the same methodology of what British has taught us, administered us. Collector, who is a collector? We call it as a district collector. Collector is basically he wants to collect the money for the British. We call him a same collector.
Yeah, I guess that we need a revolution in terms of
Yeah,
government
revolution in
structure.
terms of, yes, biggest revolution we need.
Okay.
Unless until that comes, nothing changes.
Yeah, let's hope something
But
like that
again, the
happens.
revolution is being controlled by the same funded, like I mean, Anna Hazare movement. So
Like
we saw that.
Anna
Anna
Hazare movement,
Hazare movement.
controlled opposition. Okay.
Yeah. So we need to learn how to bring the revolution
Yeah.
without any control opposition.
Thank you, Raj Sekhar, for being on the Labyrinth. This was a very informative session.
Thank you, Pratham, for taking your time and listening to all these things.